Hey YouTube, Joyboy here. So, chapter 867 of One Piece is out. I will be spoiling you if you haven't read it. Read it. Let's go. Oh my holy mother, Caramel. I can't believe that we were right. In a pure state of shock right now. Like, real talk guys, you know, I made the theory a couple days ago that it's possible that Mother Carmel has the Soul Devil Fruit or the Soru no Mi. And Big Mom ate her, and holy... I want to make this clear, guys. This is not what I actually thought would happen. I believe that it was a possibility that could be justified, but I was skeptical of various elements of it. Who deserves far more respect is Vince Oliger and Rogers Base, who Rogers Base told me specifically, like, 100% this is what he thought was going to happen. Like, whew, baby, if I get this out before Rogers Base does his live reaction, you best be anticipating it. So for those who watch my videos, congratulations on being spoiled, but I think the one part of this chapter that got pretty much everyone, and when I say everyone, I mean pretty much everyone, because if you believe this, you were one of just a couple, as far as I'm aware, which is that, holy damn, Mother Carmel's change of character from this chapter. I'm actually really proud of saying this from my video. Mother Carmel to use the same ability suggests that she would take life in the first place, which I don't think makes sense. But you never know, there could be a drastic change in how her character is portrayed by the end of this flashback, which may make this more viable. This should be a reminder to those out there who think that certain things are impossible. With essentially nothing but direct confirmation that Mother Carmel was a saint of heart, Oda still decided to pull the rug out from under our feet. Whole Cake Island's theme is most certainly deception. I don't recall ever being so confused as to the standings of so many characters. But I think that there was certain elements of the story which did sort of set up this possibility, which is specifically Carmel is implied to be a nun, nearly flawless in personality and character, yet despite being a nun, she smoked. This essentially implies that Carmel's character was not quite as perfect as we were being implied that it was. And I really want to say this, guys, which is that with Mother Carmel, we had essentially nothing but solid evidence that she was in fact a good person. And it was only this one detail, as far as I'm aware, that really set up her change in character. And so this goes well with the concept of plot twists in storytelling, right? You set up the reader to believe something specific, and then low-key foreshadow an alternative possibility. This same thing is going on with Big Mom, but in reverse. And the exact same thing happened to Pudding earlier in the arc. In fact, it happened twice. But guys, the biggest potential reveal of all of this has nothing to do with what is extremely obvious. It has to do with how Big Mom actually obtained the Soru no Mi, or the Soul Fruit. Oda left it ambiguous, but at the end of the chapter, he highly implied that Big Mom consumed Mother Carmel. And as I discussed in the same theory video, Mother Carmel's Devil Fruit, I wonder if what would happen to a Devil Fruit within a Devil Fruit user who was consumed by somebody who had not eaten a Devil Fruit. Now that it's confirmed, pretty much, that Big Mom ate Mother Carmel, who had the Soul Fruit, Big Mom then somehow obtained the Soul Fruit. I wonder if she obtained it because she ate Mother Carmel, thus potentially explaining how someone may go about stealing a Devil Fruit user's powers. And to tie this back to another thing that I talked about, which is Blackbeard, there may be implications that Blackbeard is aware of how this exactly works. And I talked about Blackbeard specifically and how he covered himself when he stole Whitebeard's Devil Fruit, when Whitebeard was on death's door and essentially died. But I think the more persuasive point that really argues for this is Jesus Burgess. Jesus Burgess was hunting Devil Fruits. Specifically, he wanted to obtain the Mero no Mi from Sabo. And so while fighting Sabo, he pulled out a knife. And this is interesting because Jesus Burgess he doesn't fight with weapons, he fights with his fist. He's a brawler, so why would it be necessary to carry around a knife? Potentially because he knows that consuming a Devil Fruit user, or consuming a specific part of a Devil Fruit user, allows you to take on their Devil Fruit ability. This would essentially make devil fruit users living devil fruits, because if you take a bite of a devil fruit, you take on the ability that the devil fruit grants. But then it also implies that if you take a bite out of a devil fruit user, then you take the ability that the devil fruit user has. I think this is the more likely scenario here, but it's not a guarantee because there's always a possibility that Big Mom having killed them, and specifically Mother Carmel, that her devil fruit respawned to a nearby fruit, as we have seen previously, and we just haven't seen the scene where Big Mom finds the fruit and decides to eat it. But anyway, guys, I think a lot of people are going to be talking about this, and this is something that I would normally brush over, but I really can't. Guys, Big Mom, as a 5-year-old, is ungodly powerful. She literally one-shotted, grabbed Waterfall Beard by his beard, essentially his nutsack, and tossed him like a rag doll. And she's 5 years old. And this is one of the most ancient and revered warriors in Elbaf. And even as a 5-year-old, we can see her essentially take on his sword attack, and the sword actually broke, so she was indestructible as a 5-year-old. It's just insanity, guys, and I've heard some people argue already that this is completely killing the hype for Elbaf, but I really just think that this is increasing the hype for Yonko. Another amazing aspect of this chapter is Oda finally decided to reveal to us how exactly homies are created. And so we learned this through Mother Carmel, but essentially it seems like she removed her own soul and then gave it to the Blazing Inferno, which was Elbaf. It then transformed into cognition, it made a face, and then Carmel commanded it. This scene right here essentially confirms what I've been saying all along, which is that Prometheus and Zeus and Napoleon are in fact homies made from Big Mom's own soul. And it also explained the most mysterious homie. A lot of people weren't sure how exactly Prometheus had the qualities of fire, and like it was sort of described him as the sun, right? And how do you make a homie out of the sun? It was probably the same situation for Big Mom, where there was a raging inferno. She then put her own soul into the blaze to form a homie. But before we move on from Mother Carmel and the Soul Devil Fruit, I want to bring up something that she said, which is before she created the homie out of the fire, she said, Gevura. And after some quick googling, you'll find that this word actually has meaning, and when you tie it to speculations about Mother Carmel and my personal speculations about Big Mom, it makes a ton of sense. In the Mother Carmel video, I basically said that it seemed likely that Mother Carmel was inspired from, her name at the very least, and design was inspired from Our Lady of Mount Carmel, who was essentially the mother of Jesus, the Blessed Virgin Mary. And I talked about how from the Middle Ages, Our Lady of Mount Carmel has been related to purgatory, where souls are purged of sins in the fires. And so Gevura relates to Judaism, and specifically, I would need to do more research of this, and I think that you can expect me to talk about this more in depth sometime in the future, but Gevura is understood as God's mode of punishing the wicked and judging humanity in general. This aligns perfectly with the Blessed Virgin Mary's association with purgatory. And what's interesting about this is I've essentially speculated the same thing about Big Mom. I did this in my Big Mom Explained video, but Gevura is understood as God's mode of punishing the wicked and judging humanity. And Our Lady of Mount Carmel purged souls of their sins in the fires. And I speculate that Big Mom may be punishing the wicked and judging the Vinsmoke. Perhaps this could be construed as purging their souls of their sins. And this could relate back to her childhood and her need to punish the bear for having killed the wolf, because killing the wolf was not okay. But moving on to another topic, it was essentially confirmed this chapter, if it was not already confirmed, that Big Mom has no recollection, no memories of what she does when she goes on a rage. She literally started eating and didn't even realize that she consumed Mother Carmel or the other orphans, or what had happened to them. And based on the details that are revealed, she essentially blacked out. She remembers one thing, and then we jump to the future, and she does not recall the events in between. This is a very, very important clarification. Big Mom now has officially never knowingly killed one of her children or subordinates as far as we are aware, and so one thing that I find interesting is that it seems as though the flashback has concluded. We've gone back to present time, But yet it has not been explained how Big Mom changed from her childhood, where essentially she was completely good-natured, a little overpowered and prone to being stupid, and then she goes on rages where she does things that she doesn't want to do. But how do we transition to her current state where she literally does things while seemingly conscious that would contradict the good nature of her childhood? But I want to point out something interesting again from this flashback, which is that by the end of all of this, the other orphans and Big Mom became friends. They coexisted peacefully, and if it weren't for Big Mom's illness or rage, this would have continued on, presumably forever. And Carmel and the kids learned to cope with Big Mom's rages, at least to some degree, having had one previous experience dealing with it. And the last thing that I want to leave you guys with, if it wasn't clear before, and I don't know why it wouldn't have been, it's definitely clear now. The world government are bad people, trafficking kids, orphans. And for what purpose? To make them join the Marines for experimentation, forcing them into slavery? And this also confirms that the world government for sure works with the underworld. But anyway, guys, that's all I really wanted to talk about today. This chapter, man, holy, like, being caught off guard doesn't really describe the feeling that I have. But anyway, guys, let me know what you think about this chapter. Let me know if you noticed anything that you found interesting that you wanted me to talk about. Just let me know your thoughts. Like the video if you liked the video, dislike the video if you disliked the video, subscribe if you want to be notified for my future content. And as always, guys, have a wonderful day.